And welcome back. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Thank you for starting your day with us on KIDO Talk Radio. We're here talking about the College of Innovation and Design at Boise State University. Thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Joining us now is Mark and Juliana, Program Directors for the College of Innovation and Design. Thank you, folks, for getting here so early. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, you're welcome.
So let's take us inside your world, if you will. We'll start with you. What's your day like here?
Well, it varies every day, which is one of the things I love about it. I support a portfolio of programs, including our leadership certificate, which you'll hear from later, Dr. Reeder. I also support our design ethnography team. They're working to bring ethnography skills into the workforce by helping people design better products and services. And then I work with our Human Environmental Systems faculty group. They are innovating in how research is accomplished to get real-world problems to community members solved. So it's every day a little bit different.
I see you've got notes
problems.
there, too.
You know, we want to try and keep track of it all for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, and so my name is Mark. I am the counterpart of Jelena's, so we manage different parts of the portfolio. The ones that I manage in the portfolio are the GIM program, Games, Interactive Media, and Mobile Technology, and the HBX core courses. Those are the ones that we offer to Boise State students in the community for through Harvard Business School, and also the Venture College and Idaho Entrepreneur Challenge.
Okay, when you say Harvard Business School and Boise State and people in the Treasure Valley and look, I've got my little Commodore 64 laptop here, so I'm a little in over my head. If you could just expand on that, how that helps people, sir.
Yeah, so first of all, don't worry, you're not going to be in over your head. There's no prerequisites for the Harvard Business School courses. They're designed for whether you have some background or no background, you can come in and take these classes without prereqs. And what it will help you do, it'll give you a foothold in speaking the language of business. So you're going to learn about accounting, analytics, and economics, and overall business strategies that you can apply. And so if you're thinking, I don't really want to major in business, but I do want to know something about business, this would be a good program for you. If you are thinking, I'd like to step up into and have a broader view of the business that I work in today, it's also a great opportunity to do that. And you get a Harvard Business School credential to go along with that.
So again, it's great for folks that may not, that are running small businesses. Or?
Absolutely. If you're running a small business, if you're running a startup, any of these situations apply. It's going to help you. When you come through the program and complete that, you're going to think about businesses that you work with, that you work for, in a different way. It'll give you a completely different outlook.
Sure. Juliana, when we take a look at just how new this program is and what does it mean for people that may not have had the opportunity to afford or the time to come to class?
Yeah, I think what's so exciting about Boise State is really our focus on offering accessible courses, both online, and a lot of our programs are also offered online. So an example with design ethnography, they offer courses every 7 weeks. And they're 1 credit each, so you can, take as much as you can and pop in and pop out. So one of the things that the College of Innovation and Design is focused on is creating programs that have multiple entry points and exit points for people that, have busy, full lives and are looking for that level up in their career or that add-on to their degree that's really going to distinguish them in the marketplace. And we want to make that as accessible as we can.
How much work goes into creating these programs? I'll let both of you answer that.
Yeah, a lot. And our role, Mark and my role, really is to support people on the ground running these programs. So there is a tremendous amount of work that goes into launching a new program. And I think additionally within the College of Innovation and Design, what we're looking to do is be as quick as we can. And I love higher ed. I've been here for over 11 years, and quickness is maybe not what higher ed is known for.
Right.
So we try to put a lot of velocity into what we're doing when we launch something, and so there's a lot of careful design and partnership and go time. So
sure.
Mark would add to that.
Yeah, well, and I'll just add the flip side of that is on something like the Harvard Business School programs, those are developed by Harvard through their online platform. So we're not developing that. It's still a lot of work to enable something like that and get it through the system here at Boise State. But part of what we're trying to do too, because it takes time to do things at Boise State or any higher ed institution, if we can pick world-class programs to bring in, that frees up our faculty, our resources to do other things that are innovative on their own.
Well, like I said, it's a lot more work than just point and click, right?
Oh, yes.
A lot of work goes into that.
Yes. There is pointing and clicking, but there's more work than
right. It's amazing how frustrated we get when we just don't get that instant gratification. Well, you take a look at the future of the College of Innovation and Design. Where do you both see it going?
Well, so I would say from one thing that I would like to see us do is offer more of these world-class opportunities online, broaden access for students, again, free up resources on campus to do their own innovative work for faculty and so on. So that, I think if we could do more of that, I would like to see that. We're working on a few things in that area. Jelena, what about you?
I think part of where we're moving towards is fulfilling our mission of fully launching programs. So like an incubator or an R&D arm of a company, we're designed to start a program, test it out. If it fails, we'll kill it. If it succeeds, we want to find it a permanent home in the university so we can start the next adventure. So I think in our future, there's no timeline on that, but you'll see some programs fully institutionalized and with a permanent home, and we'll start the next big thing. And our dean, Gordon Jones, truly is a visionary and looking 20 years ahead and seeing where higher ed is heading and where the marketplace is heading, and trying to point our ship in that direction.
Well, you wonder where higher ed will be in 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting and important problem to think about.
You know, the idea of the more interface with the computers and such. You know, we already have virtual campuses around the country and such. So, any thoughts?
I think there'll always be a place for the, brick and mortar is one thing we talk about. I think there's always a place for community. I think there's always a place for a lively and enriching campus experience. But I think we will see more online, more virtual, and like Mark said, that in a way that's actually enabling for more of the community. It frees you up to do other types of things. So I think we'll see that. I think we'll also see again, more exit points and entry points, certificates, and other sort of modular types of things instead of just a 4-year degree. I think we'll find ways to engage students in different ways.
Certifications or something like that?
Yeah. So that, that one of the things that Dean Jones is focused on is how do we create systems and a culture of lifelong learning. So you don't just graduate from Boise State and one and done, but you keep coming back for those professional credentials and other opportunities.
You see that in education and other fields as well, getting recertified and maintaining those.
Exactly.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. So, and I think, Jelena, you're right on with the future of this. I think the key thing for any institution in Boise State, especially what we want to be, is distinct in some way. If there's just sort of a copy and paste institutions around the world or around the country, even around the state, that is not a sustainable model today, I think, and we need to be distinct and think about what's changing, the certifications, all of these things we need to factor in and say, well, what does the future of higher ed look like, both for students and for faculty, everyone, and say what needs to change and what needs to stay the same. Anything
else you'd like to say to folks right now?
Well,
unfiltered, uncensored.
Well, I would say I mentioned the games, interactive media, and mobile technology. I know you've got students coming on later, so I hope your listeners will stay tuned and hear from them. They're doing some fantastic work.
Sure.
I would just add that none of this gets done without partnership with many people across campus. So although CID is a bit of an incubator, really all of these things rely upon our collaborators across campus. And another great example of that is the esports program. That's a College of Ed program that College of Innovation and Design is coming alongside. And we really believe there's a tremendous future for students in that industry. It's $1 billion global industry, and I think an example of where if higher ed can speed up a little bit, we're going to benefit everybody in providing both community and some real workforce development skills in that area. So,
right.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Appreciate you waking up so early with us.
Yes,
right.
Thank you for having us.
Take care. Kevin Riller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. We're joined now as we get ready to, commemorate and thank our veterans on Veterans Day. Hampton Sides joining us, talking about the forgotten war, the Korean War. Mr. Sides, thank you for joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio in Idaho, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
for those that have never been to Washington, D.C., one of the most emotional, evoking monuments in a sea of monuments has to be the Korean War Memorial. It took a pretty long time for that to get there, but it is a forgotten war. It's one of the bloodiest wars that people don't seem to cover. Why do you think the Korean War is lost on most of us, sir?
Oh, all kinds of reasons. I think one of those reasons is that Truman himself called it a UN police action, and I think some of the history books have characterized it and minimized it as such. You know, it's just a conflict, just a police action, just a local affair, and you know, really, it's unfortunate because whole generations have grown up thinking that it was just this small little kind of also ran in the kind of national consciousness. Aside from endless reruns of MASH, which great show, don't get me wrong, love MASH, but you know that seems to be the kind of extent of most people's understanding of what this conflict was. But you know, it was essentially the opening salvo of the Cold War. It was this massive clash of ideologies. It was essentially a world war crammed down into one little peninsula. And it's a war that never ended. You know, there wasn't a true peace treaty. It ended more or less where it began, along the 38th parallel, a stalemate. That may be another reason why it's somewhat forgotten, is that I think Americans understand victory, and we've come to understand loss, as in Vietnam, but a tie, you know, that's a tough narrative to really get your head around.
Why the title On Desperate Ground?
Well, my book is really focuses on one single battle in the Korean War, the Battle of Chosin Reservoir, which is one of the most epic battles in American history, frankly. And I gave it the title On the Desperate Ground because that's a reference to Sun Tzu, who is this wonderful, this great ancient Chinese military strategist and philosopher, who talks about 9 different kinds of ground, 9 kinds of situations that you can confront in a battle. And this is something that's studied in business schools and leadership schools and also military academies. And so, you know, the 9th kind of ground, the most intense kind of fight you can have, he calls desperate ground. And by that, it means basically there's no possibility of an easy retreat. You can't hide. You can't strategize your way out of a mess. You've just got to fight, and fight you either have to surrender or you have to fight your way out of a trap, which is essentially what this battle was all about.
Well, you talk to many Marines, and they always talk about the Chosin Reservoir. For those of us, sir, that's been a while since we've studied that in the history books, or even not even studied it in the history books.
Right.
What was the significance?
Well, the reason the Marines embrace this battle so much and study it and celebrate it as one of their great battles is that they were put in an impossible situation because of General MacArthur and some of the other leaders in Tokyo who were kind of conducting the war from afar. But once put in this impossible situation, stranded up in the mountains of North Korea in the winter in 35 below zero weather, the Marines dug in, they held on for dear life, they regrouped, and then they fought their way out of this entrapment. 120,000 Chinese soldiers surrounded them and began to just cut them to pieces. And everyone was saying the Marines are doomed, they're going to surrender, they're going to be destroyed, annihilated, they're a lost legion. But that's, of course, not what happened. They concentrated their forces. They built an airfield up there in the middle of nowhere in the mountains to get their casualties out. And then they began this systematic fighting withdrawal to the sea, which is one of the most difficult maneuvers that there is in military, of fighting withdrawal with these sort of collapsing enclaves and the complexity of all these moving parts. There's close air support, there's artillery, there's flanking patrols up on the ridge lines. It's a very intricate endeavor, and that's really what the book's about, is about how the Marines, through great leadership, and ferocious fighting got their way out of this trap, made it to the sea where an enormous evacuation took place on the level of Dunkirk that got them out of that situation. They regrouped and lived on to fight another day.
What about the sheer elements, the brutality of the Korean War? I have had a chance to speak with many veterans of the Korean War, and they will tell you that it was so cold, and yet the North Koreans and the Chinese kept coming at us again and again that you'd have the 50 caliber machine guns melting down because of the wave after wave of humanity rushing our forces.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Marines that I talked to always say there were three combatants in this battle. There were the Marines, there were the Chinese, and then there was the cold. And the cold was so intense that, it just took your breath away. I don't know that we've ever sent our forces into combat in conditions quite this cold. It really, it just shut down the vehicles, and the artillery wouldn't fire accurately. People froze to death, of course, and I think 85% of these men suffered some form of frostbite. But even in the midst of all this, here come the Chinese, wave after wave after wave of them. Of course, they are suffering from the cold just as much, if not more, than the Marines are. Mao was using his men like cannon fodder. He just didn't care about the casualties. He was willing to sustain huge numbers of casualties, and so he would send a wave in with weapons. That first wave would get mowed down, and a second wave without weapons would come along and pick up those weapons and keep on attacking. They only fought at night, by the way, which gave this battle a kind of an eerie quality. They only fought at night because they were very frightened of American air superiority. So about midnight, you'd hear this cacophony of bugles and shepherd's horns and drums and cymbals, and here came the Chinese. And, they weren't subtle, but they had one principal advantage, which was overwhelming numbers, which Mao sent to their death.
Hampton Sides joining us, talking about his new nonfiction book on desperate ground. Is that why they called it The Frozen Chosen?
Yes, The Frozen Chosen. The battle was fought on the shores of a lake, which had frozen solid. It's called the Chosin Reservoir. That's just a place name. It was a man-made lake that had been built during the Japanese occupation of Korea, and it makes for a very eerie location for a battle when when there's this gleaming frozen lake out there. Some of the battle was actually fought out on the ice itself. So these men, who all nearly froze to death, call themselves the Chosen Few, or sometimes the Frozen Chosen. And believe me, most of them have moved long ago, moved down to places like Florida, Texas, Southern California, because they just say, I will never experience cold again. It's just too much. They dream about it. It's like they never got the chill out of their bones.
Was this the beginning of the rise of China as a world power?
Yes, it was in a lot of ways. Now, Mao had just a year earlier won his civil war against the forces of Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalists, who we had supported, of course. We had supported the nationalists. So Mao and his communist revolution had triumphed, and now this was the first time in which he is trying to flex his muscles, on the world stage and make his presence known outside of China in the larger region. Of course, Manchuria, which is part of China, borders North Korea. He certainly viewed the march north of the American forces marching towards the Yalu. He viewed that as a threat. But he also had, a number of other strategic reasons why he wanted to enter this war. He was trying to sort of differentiate himself from Stalin and show Stalin that he was a communist actor in the region that had its own national interests, that it wasn't all just about what Stalin wanted. And you know, he also, Mal very much fancied himself a great military strategist and leader who was just devoted to Sun Tzu, that philosopher that I mentioned earlier in the program, had read everything Sun Tzu had written. So he's very much involved in all of this from afar. He's dictating all the actions of his troops.
Well, Mr. Sides, we could go on and on. We urge folks to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever you can get your books. And on desperate ground, specifically on this Veterans Day, thank you, sir, for remembering those folks that have done so much for us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And do appreciate Cap-Ed Credit Union for their sponsorship of Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future. Coming up Monday, we'll be back at it, Miller's Mission 2018. If you want more information, KIDOTalkRadio.com, where we ask you to give a turkey, don't be a turkey. And I'll be dressed up as a turkey again, collecting your cash donations, your turkeys, always the turkeys. And stop out and see us. I'll be living at the Walmart on Garrity and Franklin, thanks to Team Mazda Subaru, Cap-Ed Credit Union, and our friends at Camping World and the Boise Rescue Mission. The great thing about this is the show doesn't stop. So all your favorite contributors, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania, he's our celebrity co-host, along with Tea Party Bob, and I'm trying to think, Liberty Linda. So many others come out, and we donate. And our friend Bruce and Shay, and it's a reunion, if you will, and it benefits Treasure Valley families. We look forward to, once again, asking you to give a turkey, don't be a turkey, and your humble host, fortunately or unfortunately, resembles that. Miller's Mission starts Monday. Please stop by the Garrity and Franklin Walmart in Nampa. Thanks to Walmart, once again, for helping the Boise Rescue Mission make a difference. Coming up, much more from Boise State. First, let's find out what's happening on your way into work. And KIDO Talk Radio is your exclusive home for Fox News on the radio here at 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Coming up, more from the College of Innovation and Design, brought to you by Cap-Ed Credit Union. First, we go live to Paris, France, and Simon Owen joining us from Fox News Radio. Simon, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
You know, the president traveling to Paris today for commemorations marking 100 years since the end of World War I, the anniversary of the armistice coming into effect at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Your thoughts, and is Paris getting ready for the president?
Yes, and several dozen other world leaders as well, among them the Russian President Vladimir Putin, although we don't expect that President Trump and Putin will have particularly detailed conversations this weekend. This is a 2.5 day or so trip for President Trump, arriving later today. I'm actually speaking to you from just on the outskirts of Paris, a place called Suresnes. There is an American military cemetery here. It's one of 6 in France that was set up after World War I ended. It sits high on a hill overlooking Paris. You can see the Eiffel Tower in the distance, and it's the final resting place for 1,541 Americans killed in World War I. And you may be vaguely familiar with what these places look like. It's pristine green grass and then white crosses and stars of David arranged precisely in long rows. And I was speaking to a man this morning he's from Canada actually, but his great-grandfather from Bangor, Maine came over, fought here and was shot fatally on November 10th, 1918, the last full day of the war. And a day later, as you say, 11th of the 11th of the 11th, that armistice was signed.
You know, it was supposed to be the war to end all wars. How are the French commemorating this?
Well, I mean, there've been events in France and also in Britain and in various countries, but primarily France for the past 4 years. So ever since it was 100 years since the war began, they've marked that. Then they've marked major battles, whether it's the Battle of the Somme or the Battle of Belleau Wood, which had a huge U.S. involvement. There have been these commemorations throughout the past 4 years, and now this is the main one where they mark this armistice. There is one curious event tomorrow, which revolves around where the armistice was signed, which was not in a palace or a military headquarters or anything like that. it was signed in a train carriage, a dining car from a passenger train, which had been converted into a mobile office for the French Allied commander. That is where the armistice was signed, in a clearing in a forest 50 miles north of here in Paris. And it's a place that became a rallying cry for Adolf Hitler. After the war finished, he used the humiliation of this signing as a rallying cry. And when Germany invaded France, found the car and restaged the armistice, with Germany declared as coming out on top. So, one of these amazing stories that World War I brings. Tomorrow, Chancellor Merkel of Germany and President Macron of France will visit that site, and Merkel will be the first German leader to do so since Hitler.
As Hitler called it, the hated Treaty of Versailles.
Yes, and something that he went on to use as he ramps up his power and came to power, and went as far as actually finding this train car. Now, the train car was actually destroyed in the war. No one knows how. But there is a replica that is still in this clearing in a forest where this historic document was signed in the early hours of November 11th.
Simon, as the world watches this commemoration, this anniversary of the armistice, anything that you'll be looking out for that we should be looking out for here in America?
Well, I think we're going to see President Trump, firstly with a range of other world leaders at the main commemoration, which takes place at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. You might remember there was a bit of a back and forth. He came here last year for a Bastille Day military parade, which not many Western governments do this, but the French do each year. And President Trump was apparently so wowed by it that he started plans for one in D.C., which would have been this Sunday. But he said that the D.C. authorities were charging ridiculously high price for it. The D.C. authorities said it does cost a lot of money to have tanks rolling down streets that aren't built for that kind of weight and that sort of thing. And President Trump cancelled those plans and said he would come here instead. There isn't actually going to be a military parade here, though. It's more of a commemoration. Then I think we'll see the president visit at least one of the American military cemeteries in northern France. But one thing he won't do, we're told, is attend a peace conference, which President Macron is holding on the Sunday afternoon.
Simon, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Kevin.
Simon Owen joining us live from Paris, France, exclusively right here in Idaho on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller with you, promoting our schools, securing our future from Boise State University. Our coverage of the College of Innovation and Design continues. We've got a young lady by the name of Allison with us, and Evan, a little bit about some of these wonderful, innovative ideas. Allison, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kevin. Thank you so much for having us.
Good to have you with us here. So the College of Innovation and Design, really, what is that about?
Sure. Well, there's a couple of different things that we work on, but ultimately we're here to try to help Boise State think about ways that we can consider student needs and integrate some things that are relevant to the workplace. So that's the program that I help to oversee, which is called Bridge to Career, and it came from a workforce development initiative by the state. And so currently it's in place in 3 units that I know of on campus: the Business School, us, and the Career Center, through a program that was originally in the College of Innovation and Design called WorkU. So ultimately, the courses that we try to offer bring practical skills that will help students to be successful in their lives and in the workplace after they graduate.
Like what would be a practical skill?
Sure. So we have a course like Applied Personal Finance, which is actually sponsored by CapEd. Whitney Hansen was a student here. She then went on to get her MBA, and then she became a professor here in our college. So she's teaching students how to budget, how to prepare for the workplace and life.
Right. And that really, people need that?
I think so. I mean, regardless of
what state of our a lot of people's credit reports, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the statistics, I think that they speak for themselves on that.
Sure. Evan Ann, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a graduate student at Boise State right now, pursuing my MBA through the Business College, but also I work in CID as a graduate assistant, and I am a University Innovation Fellow, which is one of the
That's
programs.
a lot of work.
I know. Yeah, I'm tired a lot of the time, but I'm very happy to be here this morning.
Well, if you could share with us how the College of Innovation and Design really is changing lives throughout the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, I think the College of Innovation and Design is amazing because as a student of Boise State, I don't always feel as empowered to certain resources on campus, and I think Boise State is taking huge steps in trying to get student voice in the development of the university. And that's not something that happens all over the place. I didn't do my undergrad at Boise State, and so coming here and experiencing this culture has been a real treat for me.
Why did you choose Boise State?
I love Idaho, and I love Boise, and this was the community that I wanted to be in after graduation, so definitely picked for grad school.
Well, and we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Allison, your thoughts on just this interaction with the Passport program, and we've been focusing in on making college affordable. I mean, you have people that are burdened with student loan debt forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's one of the most exciting initiatives that we have going on at Boise State, I think, and I'm hopeful that the Bridge to Career program can be a partner in Passport to Education and helping to create and develop some courses that are meaningful to the demographic of learners that are coming back to Boise State or for the first time through their program.
Any one powerful and story story of someone who has really benefited already from this?
Yeah, well, I can't speak directly to
Sure.
learners that have enrolled, but I remember getting a call not long after the launch of Passport, and it was from a gentleman in the Midwest, and he...
The Midwest?
The Midwest, yeah.
Wow.
And so he was calling, and he said he was walking home from work, and he was hoping to talk to somebody about this Passport to Education thing, that he was so excited to hear that there was an opportunity for somebody like him to come back to school. And he said that he wanted to learn more information because he wanted to talk to their human resources manager to see if other people like him in the workplace could also participate. So I called Rebecca right away, and I said, hey, this is amazing. He was very excited, and so I don't know what ended up happening, if he ended up enrolling, but just hearing that excitement that there's possibility for people who didn't feel like there was a possibility before is a really good thing.
Sure. Evan Ann, where do you see yourself in a few years?
Hopefully still
With
in
all
Boise.
this work
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah. Hopefully still in Boise working and utilizing some of the education and skills I've developed at CID. And I think this is a really great initiative because people fall off track a lot of the time in their education. And this is an important program to say, Boise State is here and supports you, wants you to come back and pursue your education, finish your degree. And in CID, as a graduate assistant, I do some of the social media stuff, and we have actually had students tweet at us, or one student in particular tweeted at us saying that they had to leave Boise State for circumstances, and they were still interested in coming back. And it was so cool to be able to connect them to Rebecca Morgan's program and say, hey, yeah, we want you to come back. We want to help you, and we're going to try and figure it out.
Sure. Well, we thank you both for being here, and very easy to get involved with this program.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, all of our courses they have no prerequisites, and you can take them for elective credit, so they're open to students of all majors, and it's it's our hope that students from all majors will come take them.
And just Google.
Yeah, so if you go to cid.boisestate.edu, if you
And you can get these courses.
Yeah, there's right on the first homepage, there's a View Courses tab, and you can get right down there and see them through a variety of filters, professional and strategic skills, sustainability, leadership. We've got a variety of filters that you can look through.
Sure. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Ray Amaya, thank you very much. Hey, by the way, KIDO Talk Radio is once again, wanting you to win up to $5,000. All you have to do is listen to the 6 a.m., 8 a.m. hours of the Kevin Miller Show, the Kevin Miller Club, whatever we call this thing, Kevin Miller in the morning. At 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., I'll give you a code word, and you go to our website, and you type it in, and you could win up to $5,000. Now, it's just not all about Kevin Miller. We have our friend Sean Hannity. You listen at 3 o'clock, you'll hear me say, hey, everybody, my name's Kevin Miller. And I'll give you the code word, and the more code words you get, the greater your chances, or as they say in mathematics, probability to winning that $5,000. $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. It is 7:55 on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We are live at Boise State University, College of Innovation and Design, brought to you by our friends at CapEd Credit Union. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
Evans Every Gabbard.
And I thank you very much. Our theme today has been innovation, education, and remembering our service members. And for those of you that sometimes it can be confusing, Memorial Day versus Veterans Day, Memorial Day is the day that we honor the people that gave the ultimate sacrifice, that maybe they had dreams like all of us of owning a home, being married, raising their kids or grandchildren, or even graduating high school or getting that first job. But they answer the call for a higher calling. And I do want to commend our friends at the Warhawk Museum, such a wonderful resource, and we really need to reach out to them to make sure that we do what we can to help and promote them. And they don't need our help, but it's amazing what goes on there. And think about this. On the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour, the end of the war that many people thought would end all wars. And when we're around our marvelous military, and when you're at your favorite religious service or in your thoughts of prayer, remember those people. And Veterans Day, we're here to thank the people that do serve, where we say thank you for your service. Do we really get it? Well, of course not, because we don't have those experiences. Thankfully, we'll never know what it was like to see our friend, our comrade, fall before us, or to come back from such a traumatic experience. The president honoring the end of World War I.
Securing America.
The war ended the lives of more than 9 million people, including more than 100,000 U.S. soldiers. Matthew Naylor is president of the World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City, Missouri.
We soon learned that there was never enough coffins, never enough ways to bury the dead, and caused the world really, I think, to gasp.
The museum will light up the Liberty Memorial Tower in red poppies, which became a symbol of peace after an Army surgeon wrote about the flowers in the poem In Flanders Field. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Indeed, when you think of just what was lost. And there aren't many friends that are left from World War I. Those people that have given the best. What we can do is we can honor our veterans today. Unfortunately, we're getting more and more of them because of the endless war in Afghanistan and Iraq and off the Korean coast, and those people serving in submarines or battleships or these forward operating bases doing things that, thank God, that we'll never have to go through. So thank you, veterans. We'll continue our coverage of veterans at Veterans Day and the families that have made America great. We've got Gowan Field, got Mountain Home Air Force Base. It's really a privilege to live in an area that understands and supports America so much. And if that is our mission today, we hope that we've adequately conveyed that. Thank you to all our veterans. Coming up, Fox News on the radio and more from the College of Innovation and Design here at Boise State University. They've got a little game tonight. I'm sure many people will be going to the game or watching it on ESPN2. I know I'll be watching it on ESPN2. The old rivals from the WAC days. Fresno State coming to town. And we'll be back for another hour of Miller in the Morning, only on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.